He used to be a notorious figure in the martial arts world, feared and revered as the emaciated tiger of Hajin. But now, he's just a washed-up man running a dying video rental shop on a forgotten street corner. His name is Li Yin. In his youth, he roamed the land, learning from the best and defeating even better. His name echoed through the underground like a war drum. But fate dealt him a cruel hand. Just last month, he was diagnosed with acute leukemia. Now, he's simply waiting out his final days in this dusty little shop, with no one but silence for company. That's when the door creaked open, and a well-dressed young woman stepped inside. "Excuse me, are you Mr. Li Yin?" she asked softly. Li Yin lifted his gaze slowly, his voice dry but steady. "That's me." The girl nodded, then introduced herself formally. Her name was Lei Jing, a board member of the National Martial Arts Association. Her grandfather, Lei Hongsheng, had once been Li Yan's master in name, making Li Yin her senior in the martial hierarchy. She had come to ask him to return to Guangdong with her and take up the role of advisor to the association to help carry on the spirit of martial arts. But Li Yin shook his head without hesitation. "I'm afraid I won't be of any help," he said quietly. "They found leukemia. I don't have much time left." Lei Jing's expression faltered. Disappointment flickered in her eyes, but she didn't press. Instead, she reached into her pocket and placed a business card gently on the table. Her tone softened, yet her words cut through the air. "My grandfather once said, every true martial artist must carry a spark of darkness within, among all his students. Only you, my senior, ever held on to it. No matter what you choose. I just hope that spark hasn't died." With that, she turned and left without looking back. A spark of darkness. Huh. Li Yin looked down at the smear of crimson in his palm and let out a bitter chuckle. No mood to stay open anymore. He walked over to shut the store. But just as he reached for the shutter, a hand gray, rotting, inhuman, slammed down to stop it. A face, decayed beyond recognition, leered in through the gap. It was the driver who just left. Before Li Yin could react, a vicious roundhouse kick came flying at him. Instinct kicked in. He raised his arm just in time to block. The impact sent Li Yin flying. His body slammed into the shelves with a crash. He gasped, eyes narrowing. This thing, it's not human. Before he could get up, the creature came in for another brutal kick. Li Yin twisted midair and drove his fist straight into its knee. Crack. The joint shattered on impact. The monster lost balance and collapsed to its knees before him. For a moment, they locked eyes in eerie silence. Then, without hesitation, Li Yin grabbed its shoulder, twisted his body, and slammed the creature into the floor, snapping its right arm with a sickening crunch. Seeing no movement, Li Yin exhaled in relief and turned to grab his phone. But behind him, the monster suddenly lunged, its mouth wide open, aiming straight for his neck. Li Yin felt the killing intent behind him. He spun with a powerful flying kick that snapped the creature's head sideways, spinning it like a top. The monster hit the floor with a heavy thud, motionless. But just as Li Yin steadied himself, a wave of dizziness crashed over him. His vision blurred, and he collapsed, completely unconscious. When Li Yin came to, he found himself lying on the floor. The creature was gone. In its place stood a short, pudgy man with a smirk on his face. "Bravo!" The man clapped slowly. "They say the Li family of Hajin mastered both sword and spear, but I didn't know your grappling was this deadly too." Li Yenskinta. Something was off. Behind the man, it was pitch black. No walls, no light. Just endless, suffocating darkness. He narrowed his eyes and demanded, "Where's the girl?" His voice was low, and his glare razor-sharp. The man raised a hand casually. "Relax. I've got nothing to do with her, or that thing." The monster was just a borrowed thought. A greeting, let's say. Anyway, name's Wang Yang. Or, if you prefer, call me by another name. M.O. Li Yin glanced at him and chuckled. "M.O.? What is that? Some kind of dumpling eater?" Wang Yang froze, then burst out laughing. "You're a funny one, I'll give you that." But the smile vanished in an instant that he leaned in, eyes sharp. "I can save your life. Not through some petty bone marrow transplant that I'm talking real power. A new beginning. Li Yan's expression hardened. Nothing in this world came free, and everything tonight screamed trap. After a beat of silence, he asked flatly, "What do you want me to do?" Wang Yang shrugged and spread his hands. "You'll never know unless you try. But fair warning, once you step in, there's no going back." Li Yan gave a crooked smile. "Sound a hell of a lot better than rotting in a hospital bed. Let's hear it." The pudgy man's grin widened, then darkened. His face twisted into something solemn, almost ritualistic. "Very well. Then let it begin." In an instant, a swirling wave of pitch-black darkness erupted from behind him, like a living tide straight from the abyss. It surged forward and swallowed Li Yan whole. A distant, echoing voice whispered in the void, "Welcome to the realm of Yanfo." Li Yan felt himself falling, deeper, faster. His consciousness spiraled as visions began to flash before his eyes. Towering black chains stretched into the skies. An ancient palace, cloaked in mist. Countless powerful and enigmatic figures lurking just beyond view. Five's body was suddenly wrapped in searing, crimson liquid. Blood, or was it something else? His entire vision turned red, blindingly red. And then, he finally saw at point one of the shadowy figures stepped into clarity, bound from head to toe in chains. Even its wings were pierced and pinned by iron links. Blood dripped from its mutilated head. The image burned itself into his mind. A voice echoed again, low and otherworldly. "Awaken him, my walker." Li Yan tried to scream, but no sound came out. "Who are you?" He shouted inwardly, again and again. Darkness swallowed him once more cold. Total. Crushing. He gasped and opened his eyes. What he saw next was a boxing ring. The roar of a crowd. The sting of sweat and blood in the air did a filthy underground fight pit. Underground fighting? He thought, dazed. Where's the fat guy? A voice crackled in his mind, smooth and mechanical. "Welcome to Yanfo, Walker. Your new identity has been fully established. No one will suspect a thing. You are free to go wild." Suddenly, a glowing interface appeared in his vision. A translucent mission screen. Li Yan scanned the data, quickly piecing it together. "I'm in Kowloon Walled City. Year, 1986. The mission listed 3 objectives. Complete any one to activate the full Yanfo protocol. Win 7 consecutive matches in the Kowloon arena. Retrieve a lost page from the ancient novel Gauchan record. Awaken the entity known as Ubium from within the Gauchan that he had 1 month here. Noti starts. Lose once, and he's out." The gift from Mo was at the fat guy's perk package. Skill unlocked. Battle instinct, 81%. Looks like it can still level up. Just as he processed the information, a fist came flying at him from behind. Instinct took over. Li Yan spun around and caught the punch midair. Li Yan turned to see a middle-aged man in a wrinkled suit standing behind him. The man scowled and barked. "What are you waiting for? Get in the ring already." Li Yan didn't respond. If that fat guy really sent me to 1986 Kowloon, he can cure me, no doubt. But first, I need to figure out what this Yanfo place really is. Meanwhile, the announcer on stage was hyping up the next fighter. From the southern province of Dongli, Thailand, disciple of the legendary Comet of the South, Master Nai Fo, give it up for Chache. The crowd erupted. Roars. Cheers. The entire underground pit shook with energy. A dark-skinned, chiseled fighter stepped into the ring. Every inch of him radiating raw power. It was Chache. As if sensing something, Chache turned and locked eyes with Li Yan. Without hesitation, he pointed directly at him, calling him up. Li Yan walked toward the ring slowly, calmly. But he noticed it, an eerie red aura flickering faintly around Chache's body. Chache sized him up with a sneer. "First round, and they send me some sickly newbie? Easy warm-up." The bell rang. Chache exploded forward, opening with a brutal flying knee. Li Yan dodged back, but Chache followed up instantly. A fierce straight punch, fast and unforgiving. Li Yan sidestepped gracefully, evading the strike with surgical precision. With a flick of his left hand, he deflected Chache's punch. and with his right, he struck straight toward the throat. Chache's eyes widened. What the hell? He leaned back just in time, instinct kicking in. But Lien was already moving, his body flowing past Chache's arm like liquid. In a flash, he circled behind him and delivered a crushing kick to the back of Chache's knee. Pain exploded through Chache's leg. His body buckled, dropping to one knee. In the front row, a man in a loud floral shirt narrowed his eyes. He muttered under his breath, "Bagwazang, Siksugota." Chache staggered to his feet, beads of sweat dripping from his jaw. Lien gave no time to breathe. He lunged, his right fist aimed straight for Chache's face. Chache raised his guard just in time, blocking the punch with both arms. But before he could counter, Lian's leg swept in low like lightning. Chache gritted his teeth and threw a knee to intercept. Crack! The sound echoed across the arena. Ian's kick shattered Chache's knee on impact, sending him crashing to the mat with a scream. Chache collapsed on the mat, clutching his shattered knee and screaming in agony. Around the arena, a wave of outrage erupted. Furious gamblers who bet against Lien shouted curses and slammed their chairs. Lien calmly turned to the ref, his voice cold and flat. Call it. The announcer stood frozen, staring at the broken fighter on the ground. After a long pause, he finally took a breath. Winner, Lien. But Lien made no move to leave the ring. He looked ahead and asked plainly, "Didn't they say this was a gauntlet? Who's next?" Suddenly, a deep laugh echoed from the front row. It was the floral shirt man from earlier, the one who'd recognized his style. Kid, in Dragon City's arena, fights don't start unless someone places a bet. He held up a fat wad of cash. Want to fight my guy? Doesn't matter if you win or lose. This $5,000 is yours either way. With a smirk, he pulled out a thick stack of bills and slapped it onto the stage. Lien glanced at him. Floral shirt, chest wide open. A wicked Yasha demon tattoo stretched across his chest. In 1986. That's a small fortune, he thought. But I'm only here for a month. No point hoarding cash I can't take with me. Just as he was about to decline, a glowing mission prompt appeared in his vision. Item valued at 50,000 credits qualifies for 5 Yinfo points. Redemption requires confirmed ownership. As the prompt faded, Lian's eyes sharpened. This isn't about cash, it's about survival. And those points? They're probably the key. He nodded. I'll fight. Just then, the suited man who had barked at Lien earlier approached the floral shirt boss with a flattering smile. Brother Gio, it's great that you're placing bets, and you can pick any fighter here. But letting one of your own men into the ring, it's against regulation. Brother Gio grinned, his voice dripping with sarcasm. You stupid fatty? I dropped 50 grand to watch amateurs swing at each other. My man's up there, my money's on the table. Which rule says outsiders can't fight? Before the other man could respond, thud! Brother Gio sent him flying with a brutal kick to the chest. The guy groaned, rolled over, and dragged himself up, then shuffled over to Lien, whispering urgently, Careful, bro. That a top boss from the Lien syndicate that don't piss him off. Take a few hits, drop to the floor, and that $5,000 yours. Lien gave him a slight smirk and nodded. He wiped his nose with the back of his hand and stared at the fresh streak of red blood. Again, his body was burning up, racked with infection and fever, weak, deteriorating. But he thought back to the last fight, the feeling of fists slamming into flesh, bones clashing. And he realized this pain, this fight, it means I'm still alive. Brother Gio turned to the young man beside him, grinning. Joe, I know you're itching to go. Get in there and have some fun. He knew Joe wasn't just some street punk with a few years of flashy moves. Joe had trained for over a decade, skilled enough to run his own dojo. Years ago, Joe had sparred with a master of Bagwazang. The result? 5 broken ribs, a deaf right ear, and a grudge that never healed. Ever since, he'd been waiting for a chance to settle the score. Joe stood up and leapt from the stands, landing cleanly in the ring. He clasped his fists and gave a respectful nod. Zhou Wei Tao. Do family fist. I'm honored. Lien, drenched in sweat, felt his fever rising. yet still returned the courtesy. Li Yin. Hejian. The moment Zhou heard that name, a flicker of rage flashed through his eyes. Bagwazang. So it really is one of them. Without warning, he lunged. An elbow strike shot toward Li Yan's chest, while his right leg swept in low toward the ribs. A deadly two-hit combo. Li Yin braced himself. Left arm blocked the elbow. Right hand caught the leg mid-swing. But Zhou was fast. He retracted the elbow instantly and whipped out a brutal right punch toward Li Yan's face. The gust from the blow sent Li Yan's hair flying. He raised his palm just in time to deflect it. The impact forced him backward. He staggered, then steadied his stance. That's do family fist? He's no amateur. Looks like I've underestimated this damn city. The two fighters broke apart. Zhou glared coldly at Li Yin, his voice sharp. You're pretty cocky, huh? Li Yin gave a faint smile. I just didn't expect a street enforcer running side gig for a gang to be a legit do family fist master. Guess it's time I stop holding back. Before the words were even done, he vanished. In a flash, he was right in front of Zhou. Stop! The shout echoed across the arena, cutting through the air like a whip. Li Yin halted immediately and stepped back, eyes narrowing. All heads turned. A red-haired man in a leather jacket walked in slowly, flanked by a small crew. It was Red Ghost, and with just one word, he had frozen the fight. Brother Zhou's face darkened. He adjusted his glasses and spoke with clear displeasure. What now? Is Old Wu's crew really ready to break the peace? Not even Li Yin Syndicate gets to watch fights in Dragon City anymore. Red Ghost exhaled a stream of smoke, unfazed. Your beef with Mr. Wu? That's none of my business. We answer to the Taishui Circle. We live off this arena, and we respect the rules. His voice turned cold. This ain't a damn chicken coop. You don't just throw fighters in and out like it's your backyard. Brother Zhou chuckled softly. He glanced at Li Yin, then said plainly, all right then. I'll be straight with you. My boy Zhou's been itching to spar with someone from Bagwazang for years. Brother Zhou forced a smile, his tone restrained. I'm not here to stir up trouble or break Dragon City's rules. Just do me this one favor. Let them fight. That's all I ask. Red Ghost exhaled a slow stream of smoke, shaking his head. Rules are rules, Zhou. Doesn't matter who you are. You threw your guy in without protocol. That's chaos on my stage. Brother Zhou's face darkened like thunderclouds. He said nothing, but his eyes glinted dangerously. Zhou, listening quietly on the side, knew what had to be done. If I don't make a move now, this thing's going to spiral. Without hesitation, he vaulted off the ring and landed calmly. He faced Red Ghost and bowed slightly. So what you're saying is, if I go through the official gauntlet and climb up the ranks, I'll get my shot at him? Red Ghost raised an eyebrow, grinning faintly. Exactly. Start from round one. If the committee sees you're worthy and someone places a bet, you'll get your match. Zhou nodded, then called back over his shoulder. Brother Zhou. Zhou didn't even turn around. Do as you please, he said coldly. With that, he turned and walked off, his crew trailing behind. Zhou stepped up to Li Yin and gave a respectful nod. Masterly, he said, his tone calm but firm. Not many traditional fighters step onto this stage. I didn't get my fill today, but when I've earned my place here, I'll be back for a proper match. Li Yin gave a nod, then casually asked, Hey, Master Zhou, about what your brother Zhou said earlier. Is that $5,000 still on the table? Zhou blinked, caught off guard. He looked a little embarrassed, but nodded. Yeah, it counts. Just then, a familiar glow flashed before Li Yan's eyes. The system prompt was back. With 5 info points now added, a new purchase tab had been unlocked. Hawkeye Glimpse allows brief access to an opponent's base info, with a chance to expose weaknesses. Costs 1 info point per use, or 10 points to unlock permanently. But what made Li Yan's eyes truly light up were the 2 items listed below. Esematopaetic Enhancer. Esematopoetic Reconstructor. Gold flickered in his pupils as he read. So this is it. What that bastard Amon meant by curing me. 10 points to stabilize his illness temporarily. 300 points to wipe it out completely. The purchase access granted by MO. It can only be activated once per Yinfo event. 3 total chances max, but I don't have time for 3. I need to earn everything I can. Right here, right now. That means turning every fight into profit. At night, Dragon City came alive in neon and sin. Gangs ruled every corner. The air reeked of power, decay, and desperation. On the rooftop of a rundown building, Red Ghost lit a cigarette, eyes scanning the skyline. Dragon City, he said, this place? It's a no man's land. Been that way for decades. Every year, fugitives from all over crawl into this city. Some end up as enforcers. Others get thrown into the ring. If you survive, you eat. The committee here, they're the law, period. And the Taishui group, they're the ones who carry it out. These arenas, they're not just fights. They're business. Every ring here is run by someone under Taishui. You follow the right people, and anything's yours: cash, women, even power. But Li Yin wasn't impressed. He asked only one thing. How much do I get for a fight? Red Ghost's answer was brutally honest. Reaching 300 Yinfo points in a month? Nearly impossible. Later that night, the alley reeked of rot and damp. Lin, still searching for the dorm he'd been assigned, walked carefully through the shadows until he spotted a girl, maybe 13, 14 years old, standing quietly in the corner. He lowered his voice. Hey, kid, you know where room 413 is? The girl stared at Li Yin cautiously. Fear flickered in her eyes, the kind that came from growing up around danger. Still, she nodded silently and led him to the building. As a quiet thank you, Li Yin reached into his pocket and handed her a small milk candy. Just as she hesitated, a harsh woman's voice called out from the room next door. The girl flinched, quickly mumbled a goodbye, and darted back into her apartment. Li Yin stood at his door, silent for a moment, then walked in and dropped onto the bed. His mind replayed the day's chaos, the fights, the deals, the rules, until sleep took him. Across the city, in the smoky haze of an underground betting den, a desperate man, eyes bloodshot from loss, pulled a box from inside his coat. "What'll this get me?" he asked, breath shaky. The dealer opened it. Inside lay a piece of aged parchment, and on it a hauntingly detailed drawing, a mythical beast with one leg, dragon-like horns, and lightning etched across its body. A KUI beast. Rare, ancient, dangerous. Elsewhere in the ring, Li Yin brought his hand down like a blade, striking squarely on the opponent's head. He followed up with a brutal punch, launching the man off his feet. The fighter hit the floor and didn't get back up. That made 5 victories today. Why now? It was obvious. Li Yin didn't belong in level 4 anymore. Even the crowd was starting to feel uneasy. Red Ghost leaned on the ropes, waving him down. Keep wrecking people like that, and even the dumb ones won't take the bait. He clapped a hand on Li Yin's back. Come on, one last match today, but this one's in the big league. He flicked his cigarette to the floor, then led Li Yin toward a new destination, Fui Tower. The building loomed above Longjin Road, jet black glass, sharp angles, an icy beacon of wealth and power. Only the rich or the ruthless came here to watch fights. Spending millions in a night was nothing. But stepping into that ring, you'd better have a powerful patron behind you. Red Ghost guided Li Yin into a private luxury suite. A woman in her 30s was lounging lazily on the sofa. She had long, wavy hair, slender legs, and a curvaceous waist. Her phoenix-shaped eyes shimmered with allure, her red lips curled in a faint smile, and her entire presence exuded a kind of lethal charm, one that couldn't quite be explained, but was impossible to ignore. The moment Red Ghost entered the room, the woman on the sofa shot him a look and said irritably, "You broke little bastard. Finally decided to show your face? What? Heard I was in Dragon City and started dodging me again." Her name was Judy. Her late husband had been a justice of peace with a net worth in the billions. After his death, Judy became obsessed with violence and bloodsport. Now, she was one of the biggest financial backers behind Dragon City's underground fights. Red Ghost quickly put on an innocent face. "I was just out scouting a new fighter for you," he said, then pulled Li Yin forward without missing a beat. Li Yin forced a polite smile and gave a small nod. Judy looked him over from head to toe, then said softly, decent looking, but I wonder, are you all show and no substance? If you go down in the first 2 rounds, I'll lose face, you know. She gave a sly smile. Why don't you fight instead, Red Ghost? Whatever it costs, I'll cover it. Before Red Ghost could respond, Li Yin chuckled and said, now you're just teasing, Miss Judy. Red Ghost is my boss. If I made my boss fight for me, I might as well jump into the sea. Judy smiled sweetly, then slowly rose from the sofa. She leaned in, close enough to feel her breath, and whispered, if you can hold your ground, I'll make sure you're well taken care of. As they headed toward the ring, Red Ghost nudged Li Yin and said under his breath, that woman's a golden ticket. Cling to her, and you're set for life. Li Yin knew. If he could win tonight, he'd be officially ranked in Class 6. And if he made a strong enough impression, maybe, just maybe, he could earn the 3 million credits she needed to survive. Standing in the ring, Li Yin locked eyes with his final opponent of the night. The man's face was pale, his training uniform crisp, and his expression cold as stone. His name was Kido Minami, a wanted serial killer from the East, a master of knives, firearms, and the brutal flow of Okinawan Goju-Ryu karate. Before facing Li Yin, he had already won 3 matches tonight, each opponent either critically injured or dead. The white towel dropped. The match began. Li Yin lunged forward without hesitation. His right hand swept out, slamming hard against Kido's arm. Then came a sharp left chop aimed straight at his throat. But Kido twisted to the side, narrowly evading the strike. In one fluid motion, he spun his hips, drove his left elbow into Li Yin's forearm, and reached out with his right, gripping Li Yin's shoulder with precision. Up in the VIP box, Judy watched with bated breath. She knew all too well. Everyone who had been caught like that had fallen. In that frozen moment, as Kido seized Li Yin's arm, a thin, confident smile curled at the corner of his lips, as if the match had already been won. In that split second, Li Yin's right leg snapped upward like a whip. The tip of his shoe slammed into Kido's jaw, snapping his head back violently. Down by the ring, Red Ghost's eyes lit up. This kid's vicious. He thought that he spent years down south, and it shows. His grasp of Southern styles might rival any local master. In the ring, a golden glint flashed across Li Yin's eyes. He seized Kido's wrist with a firm grip and spoke coldly. Goju, it all started with the Southern White Crane. Let me reintroduce you to your ancestors. His left hand shifted, fingers tightened into a claw, 3 fingers aligned like the beak of a bird. They shot forward like a steel spike, aimed directly at the nerve clusters beneath Kido's arm. But Kido didn't retreat. Gritting through the pain, he lunged forward, mouth wide open, going for Li Yin's ear like a rabid animal. But before he could sink his teeth, Li Yin's elbow smashed into his face with brutal force. What followed was a storm of fists. Li Yin's hands turned to blades, each punch slamming into Kido's body like thunder, relentless and merciless. As the final blow landed, Li Yin slowly lowered his arms that Kido's body crumpled to the mat. He didn't move, not even a twitch. The arena erupted. Screams and cheers surged like a tidal wave. The crowd was going wild, shouting for Li Yin to fight again. Up in the VIP box, Judy's cheeks were flushed, the sheen of sweat glistened on her skin. Her eyes were glazed, locked onto the man in the ring with a look of dazed infatuation. Backstage, Li Yin stepped into the restroom, but he splashed cold water on his face, breathing slowly to steady himself. It was the first time in his life he'd killed someone. But for someone like Kido Minami, there was no pity in his heart. He knew exactly where he was. Mercy has no place here. To a tiger. The path is always cleared. To cowards. Even flat ground is full of obstacles. He repeated those words in his mind and clenched his fist. 3 million. And every lost page of the Gauchin record. I'll take them all. He walked into the fighter's lounge. Immediately, he noticed something strange. Several people in the room were faintly glowing red. It had to be one of the abilities granted to Yinfo walkers. Hostile intent showed itself as red light. The darker the glow, the more dangerous the threat. Red Ghost walked over and shoved a thick wad of cash into his hands. Set up a bank account, he said. All your winnings will go straight in. As Red Ghost handed over the cash, he said, This is for Miss Judy. She wants you looking sharp tomorrow to go buy yourself something decent to wear. She's expecting your company. After tossing in a few more instructions, he dragged Li Yin out for a late-night bite. Over the past few days, Li Yin had come to realize, despite the nickname and swagger, Red Ghost was far more human than he let on. Instead of going somewhere fancy, they ducked into a quiet alley and sat down at a smoky hot pot stand. 3 rounds of liquor in, conversation flowed freely between the two. That's when shouting broke through the haze of steam and alcohol. A young man with a nose ring was screaming at a girl no older than 13. He pointed furiously at the wet stain on his pants, hurling insults while the girl bowed her head, whispering apology after apology. Lienblinka. It was her, the same girl who'd shown him to his room that night. Her name was Ashio. The man raised a hand that Ashio instinctively flinched. That only enraged him further. He slapped her across the face. Tears welled in Ashio's eyes. Her whole body trembled, unable to stop shaking. Just as the man raised his hand again, a sharp pain shot through his wrist. A size 42 boot slammed squarely into his face. The impact sent him flying, crashing through tables and chairs behind him. Lian stepped in front of Ashio with a lazy smile, his voice soft but firm. It's just a little spilled water. I'll apologize for the girl. That okay with you? The mood shifted instantly. Around him, more than a dozen young men stood up, blades in hand, eyes full of murder. Nose ring guy staggered to his feet. One of his lackeys handed him a machete. He pointed the blade at Li Yin and growled. You just laid hands on someone from Yishanchang? Feeling heroic. Huh. Come on then. Kill me if you got the guts. Before he could finish, Li Yan's arm snapped upward at clang. The machete was knocked from his hands, spinning through the air. Li Yin caught the machete with ease, and with a sudden motion, swung it straight toward the nose-ringed thug. The blade sliced through the air, grazing the man's collar. The sharp snick of tearing fabric made him freeze in terror. His legs gave out that he collapsed to the ground, and a warm stream ran down his pants. That's when Red Ghost finally looked over, his voice low and cold. Oh? Street thugs now. Big crowd, shiny blades. Were you planning to start cutting people? The nose ring guy turned pale. His whole body broke into a cold sweat. Our Red Ghost. You were here the whole time. Red Ghost didn't even look up, still dipping his food in broth. He said casually, I eat here a lot. That girl works hard. Pay for the damages, apologize, then take your boys and get out. The man nodded furiously, then shuffled over to Ashio and mumbled a string of apologies. Without another word, he and his crew turned tail and fled, stumbling over each other in their rush to escape the hot pot stall. The two of them ate a while longer as they were about to part ways. Red Ghost handed Li Yin an old-style mobile phone. Dress sharp tomorrow, he said. I'll call when it's time to meet Judy. After they split, Li Yin waited quietly until Ashio got off work and walked her home without saying much. Back in his room, the pain returned with a vengeance. Sweat poured from his forehead. It felt like something was gnawing at his bones, and he looked half crazed from the agony. Another wave of searing pain hit him that he couldn't take it anymore. He collapsed to the floor and blacked out. Time passed. How long, he didn't know. Eventually, he stirred. The pain was fading that he scrambled for the painkillers and swallowed one down. Every time I get out of the ring, the pain hits harder, he muttered. Drinking with Red Ghost must have made the backlash worse. He did a quick mental count. Still got over 30 grand, plus the 50 I won from the match. That's 13 Yinfo points. Li Yin thought to himself, I need to exchange for that ES hematopoietic enhancer soon. If I collapse mid-fight, I'm done. And as for that Gauchian record, still no leads. That night, he spent the whole evening out, accompanying Judy through dinner, drinks, and shopping. By the time he got off the return bus, it was already dark. Kowloon Walled City was just as cramped and grim as ever. Violence along the sidewalks was so common, it barely registered anymore. All he wanted was to get back and rest, The ring demanded focus. There was no room for fatigue. As he stepped into a narrow alley, a figure rushed out and slammed straight into him. Instinct kicked, Ian caught the person's wrist in one fluid motion. But to his surprise, the other person did the exact same thing. Their hands locked mid-move. Lian's eyes narrowed. That's military-grade grappling. The two of them immediately released and stepped back, watching each other carefully. The man looked to be in his early 30s, dressed in a worn-out suit. His short hair was neatly trimmed, and a long scar ran across one side of his cheek. He gave Lian a goofy grin and waved casually. After a few minutes of small talk, Lian learned that the man's name was Hianong, that he claimed they were almost from the same hometown, and said he'd come to Hong Kong with a few buddies, hoping to strike it rich. Just as the conversation was warming up, Lian's phone rang. It was Red Ghost. His voice was low, serious. "Listen, your building's got a group of armed robbers holed up. Cops are moving in soon. Stay put. Don't go out tonight." Lian quickly hung up and chuckled awkwardly. Buddy of mine. Drunk and rambling, don't mind him. But he could tell from the corner of his eye. Hianong had heard everything. The man's smile didn't falter, but something behind it shifted. Just then, a familiar figure appeared. It was Ashio, clutching a cat, looking around nervously. Lian's heart skipped. He crouched down and asked gently, "Ashio, got any spare change on you? Can you run to the corner store and grab some candy for Yinji?" The girl nodded obediently, hugged the cat tight, and ran off down the alley. Watching Ashio disappear down the street, Li Yin slowly turned around, unaware that behind him, Hyundong's expression had darkened. A cold, metallic click followed, a pistol pressed against the back of his head. "Sorry, brother," the man said quietly. "Nothing personal." Li Yin didn't respond, but he could tell Hyunong held that gun like someone who'd done it 1,000 times. Red light flickered in Li Yan's eyes. The Hawkeye glimpse activated. Target locked. Hyundong's status. Fatigued, lightly injured skills. Firearm proficiency 39% trait. Combat trained. Enhanced performance in multi-field engagements. Threat level. Crimson. Even with that intel, Li Yin stayed perfectly still. He knew any wrong move, and Hyunong would pull the trigger without hesitation. All his bag was Zhang. Mingy fist, even his 81% martial arts talent, meant nothing against a loaded gun. Hyunong nudged him forward with the barrel. They twisted through back alleys until arriving at a plain, almost unmarked clinic. Inside, he barked at one of his men, "Rope. Tie him up tight." As his wrists were bound, Li Yin thought silently to himself, "This guy's careful, no gaps. No chances. He's done this before." The clinic doctor frowned a moment. Hyunong walked in with another man. "Another one? Are you trying to get us all caught?" Hyunong smiled wide. "All fake charm. Relax. I'll leave more cash this time." The doctor's mood flipped instantly. Friends helping friends. That's what it's about, right? But as soon as he turned around, thud, he collapsed dead on the spot. Hyunong didn't flinch. "This place is burnt. We move now." From aside, Li Yin narrowed his eyes cold. Efficient. Ruthless. This guy is the real deal. If they don't leave now, and the police catch them here, they're all done. One of the older men, a guy named Gao Chung, pointed to the injured youth on the beat. "What about Xiao Jin? He can't even walk." Hyunong walked over, took the boy's hand, and said calmly, "Only pirates get the death penalty here. Stay, get treatment. I'll break you out when this blows over." Xiao Jin's mouth fell open. His face turned pale. This was the man he trusted more than anyone. A younger voice broke out from the corner. "No way. We put our lives in your hands, and this is how you treat your own?" Furious, one of the men suddenly drew his gun, aiming it straight at Hyunong. Without missing a beat, Hyunong raised his own weapon, pressing it against the man's forehead. The two locked eyes, neither backing down. The man let out a roar, kicking a briefcase off the table. "What's the point of stealing if we're all dead before we spend it?" Wads of crisp Hong Kong dollars scattered across the floor, and with them, 2 sheets of aged parchment fluttered to the ground. Li Yin took it all in. This was it. His moment. With fluid precision, he snatched a scalpel from the surgical tray. In one swift motion, he spun around, grabbed Gao Chung, and yanked him into a chokehold. The scalpel dug into Gao's neck. "I pull this out, he dies," Li Yin growled. "Everyone, back off." All movement froze. Dozens of gun barrels turned toward Li Yin. The room locked into a deadly standoff. After a long silence, He Enong finally spoke, his voice low, eyes narrowed. "All right, you win this one, old friend. On three. We both drop our guns and you let him go." "Deal." "Deal," Li Yin replied immediately, but his eyes never left He Enong. Not for a second. He studied every twitch, every breath. "1, 2, 3. He Enong shouted and tossed his gun forward. At that exact moment, Li Yin yanked the scalpel from Gao Cheng's neck. The man's eyes went blank as blood erupted from the wound like a geyser. He Enong dropped low and rolled forward, snatched the pistol mid-roll, and aimed in one fluid practice motion. But as he moved, Li Yin twisted his wrist, slicing the rope binding his hands. Without hesitation, he grabbed a broken scalpel blade from the floor and flung it straight at He Enong. The blade buried itself in his palm. He Enong cried out. The gun slipped from his grip and hit the ground. Li Yin lunged, knees blasting forward like a missile, slamming into He Andong's throat and sending him flying. He barely hit the floor before springing again, this time charging a second gunman. The man panicked and fired. But with Hawkeye glimpse activated, Li Yin twisted midair, the bullet missing him by mere inches. Li Yin's arm swept across, his open palm hitting with the force of steel. The man dropped on the spot, dead before he hit the floor. He Enong watched another comrade fall. Rage flared in his eyes. Gritting through the pain in his wounded hand, he lunged toward the fallen pistol. Li Yin didn't hesitate. He grabbed a scalpel from the table and charged in for the kill. Suddenly, his leg locked mid-step. Xiao Jin had thrown himself off the bed, clutching Li Yin's leg with everything he had, trying to buy He Enong time to escape. Li Yin turned, reversed the blade in his grip, and drove the scalpel straight into Xiao Jin's temple. The sacrifice bought seconds, just enough for He Enong to seize the pistol. Li Yin leapt, scalpel aimed straight for the face. He Enong raised the gun, black barrel pointed directly at his chest. Bang! The room fell deathly silent. A system prompt echoed in Li Yin's mind. /Hawkeye glimpse duration. 9M43S. Weakness not identified. 5 info points consumed. Target deceased. Lock disengaged. In a matter of minutes, Li Yin had taken out 4 armed criminals. Blood-streaked and silent. He walked straight to the Dragon City Police Department. After giving his statement, Li Yin sat alone on a bench in the station hallway, quietly processing what he'd just learned. Turns out, He Andong's crew had robbed a bank and stolen a set of valuable antiques. Among them were 5 ancient manuscripts, originally set for auction. By pure chance, 2 of those lost pages had ended up in his hands, as for the other 3. Had they already been fenced? Or passed through the black market? Regardless, this unexpected discovery had officially triggered his current Yinfo event. According to the system briefing, the main objective was to awaken the remnant soul of the Gusu bird. If he failed, all points earned and system purchases would be wiped. The more fragments he collected, the greater the final rewards at settlement. Thankfully, if a fragment appeared within 5 kilometers, the system would ping it. Otherwise, this would have been a needle in a haystack kind of mission that he needed another lead soon. Exiting the police station, he spotted Red Ghost waiting for him at the curb. "Thanks for the help, Red Ghost," Li Yin muttered. "Don't thank me," Red Ghost replied with a smirk. "It was Tai Sui who made the call. Without that, you'd still be in a cell." He leaned in and whispered, "Judy bailed you out. She's outside waiting. Try to act a little grateful." Seeing Li Yin's reluctant expression, Red Ghost rolled his eyes. "She's worth billions. Long legs, big rack, pretty face, and she's thrown herself at you. What's with the attitude?" Moments later, Judy was already linking arms with him, strolling off together like a picture-perfect couple. That night, the two sat across from each other in an upscale restaurant. Judy looked Li Yin up and down, clearly pleased with the tailored suit she'd picked out for him. Meanwhile, Li Yin felt a quiet sting in his chest. This single outfit cost as much as an S-cell enhancer. His eyes drifted to Judy's strikingly flawless face. "Tell me," he asked quietly, "how much do you actually know about me? I can understand someone spending money to back a fighter. What I don't get is a woman inviting a man who just killed 4 people to dinner." Judy didn't answer. Instead, she leaned in slightly and countered. "When Red Ghost introduced me, I'm guessing he called me one of Dragon City's biggest patrons, right? What went through your mind when you first saw me?" Li Yin lit a cigarette and exhaled slowly. "I thought, this woman's worth billions. If I ever hit rock bottom, I could just kidnap her, squeeze out a few $100 million. That'd be enough to coast through the rest of my life." Judy blinked, her expression faltering for just a moment. Then she smiled, soft, unfazed, almost intrigued, a little brutal, maybe, but I like honesty. She tilted her head slightly. "If you did kidnap me, would money really be all you wanted?" As she spoke, Judy slowly lifted her stiletto heel and hooked it around the cuff of Li Yan's pants. Tilting her head, she rested her chin on her palm, eyes dreamy and locked onto his. "Blood and violence, some people fear it. Some are disgusted by it." She smiled, voice lower now. "I'm the kind who can't look away." Her cheeks flushed faintly as she beckoned him with a single curled finger. Leaning closer, her eyes half-lidded, lips slightly parted, she traced the corner of her mouth with her tongue. A breath of sweet, perfumed air brushed across his face. "The first time I saw you in the ring," she whispered, covered in blood, completely unhinged, "I was absolutely thrilled." Li Yin swallowed hard, instinctively leaning back. "This woman's dangerous," he thought. "A few words, and she's already messing with my head." Judy giggled softly, eyes still fixed on him with that intoxicating stare. After dinner, Li Yin walked alone through the shadowed alleys of Kowloon-walled city. Suddenly, a sharp burn flared across his chest, a system prompt echoed in his mind / Gauchin Chronicle fragment detected. Coordinates locked. Prepare to receive transmission. A holographic map appeared in front of him, the full layout of the walled city. The marked location? Less than 100 meters away. Eyes narrowing, Li Yin took off running. He darted through alley after alley, and then / tracking session complete. Duration, 1 minute. The signal vanished. He hadn't caught the target, but now he was sure. At least 2 more fragments still remained somewhere within this maze. Holding the 2 recovered pages in his hands, he muttered, "Gu Huan Yao. Ayo. Qigong sure, all of them. Monsters, spirits, twisted gods from old myth." That strange, round-faced man had dragged him into something surreal, a world far beyond what logic allowed. And with hawk-eye glimpse, he'd seen things no sane person should. But what haunted him most was that voice, the one that called him Yinfo's walker. What is Yinfo? The question burned at the edge of his mind. And then there was the other one, the mysterious figure carrying a fragment. Whenever Li Yin pursued, he slipped away, but when ignored, he would quietly return, watching. "So," Li Yin whispered, "he knows I'm here, which means I'm not the only one walking this path." He's too cautious, Li Yin thought. Whoever this guy is, he's not easy prey. Anyone selected as a Yinfo walker is probably a damn nightmare to deal with. With his Yinfo points running low, Li Yin reluctantly spent 10 of them to purchase the ES hematopoietic enhancer. "There's not much left, but I can't afford to collapse mid-fight. That'd be worse than dying." The effect hit fast, his eyelids grew heavy, and sleep pulled him under. He passed out without resistance. When Li Yin opened his eyes the next morning, every breath felt electric. His body, light and brimming with power. The sickness was gone. Completely. He stood, hands shifting into form, feet twisting in a stance, then struck. Internal energy surged. His punch hit the wall like a thunderclap. The force sent cracks spidering across the concrete. Meanwhile, inside a luxury suite at Fui Tower, Red Ghost sat flipping through a thick dossier. "Su Qianxi," he asked, frowning. "Tai Sui's going to meet him personally? What's this kid's background?" Across from him sat Liao Zhizong, the most powerful fight promoter in all of Kowloon. Liao Jizong scanned the documents on the table, his eyes sharp. Tai Sui's going to meet him personally, he said quietly. All because of his grandfather, Su Shangtian. Su Shangtian, direct disciple of IP Man, one of the four heavenly kings of Wing Chun. He racked up 32 straight wins in the Kowloon Ring. Made the whole city too scared to climb the stage. Underground arena, Fui Tower. Li Yin sat in the stands, watching the match below with keen interest. In the ring, Xiao Zhou was facing off against a grizzled Vietnamese veteran. It was a weapons match. The vet wielded two tri-edged army bayonets, while Xiao Zhou carried only a pair of brass knuckles. The weapon disadvantage was obvious, yet Xiao Zhou still had the upper hand. Just as Li Yin was leaning in, absorbed, a slender, pale hand tapped him on the shoulder. Mind if I sit here? He looked up to see a woman in athletic gear, delicate features, sharp brows, and a single long ponytail cascading to her waist. Not at all, Li Yin replied with a polite smile. She stretched lazily, revealing toned, powerful legs, her proportions flawless. She took a small porcelain bottle from her pocket, uncorked it, and took a swig. The pungent aroma of strong liquor filled the air. Li Yin raised an eyebrow. Not many women drink Baijiu. Her eyes stayed fixed on the ring. He's using one shang fist, long bridge, wide stance. But his footwork, that's pure Taiji plum blossom praying mantis, slippery, angled, deceptive. One shang is power. Mantis is finesse. To blend them this cleanly. Kid's a genius. I'll give him that. For context, the Du family fist that Xiao Zhou practices one of the four major styles from Shandong province. Known for its explosive power, it's often referred to as one shang fist, the saint style. So when the woman called it that, she was speaking of Du style. In the ring, Xiao Zhou had seized the upper hand. He stepped in, driving his knee into the old soldier's leg joint. The veteran stumbled, balance shattered. With a brutal hook, Xiao Zhou sent the man flying. The victory was clear-cut. The woman beside Li Yin murmured to herself, that Bagwazang fighter under Red Ghost, seasoned, ruthless. More experienced than this one, but his energy is scattered. His core is hollow. If the kid picks up on that, it's still anyone's fight. Li Yin's chest tightened. He glanced at her and asked, you seem to enjoy watching fights. Sounds like you know a thing or two about traditional styles. She smiled. I studied under Zhang Qinjin, a known master of film school Bagwazang. You could say I'm part of that lineage. Li Yin probed further. The Bagwazang guy you mentioned, you've seen him fight before? Didn't sound like you thought much of him. The woman cradled her cheek in her palm, voice gentle. He didn't fight today. Didn't bother to remember his face. But his movements weren't true Bagwazang. More likely from scattered northern branches. Fierce, sure, but flawed. Fighters like that tend to burn out fast. If you're thinking of betting on him, she gave him a sidelong look. I'd be cautious. Li Yin paused, then asked, may I have your name, miss? She tilted her head and smiled warmly. Surname you. Full name, Yu Shu. But in the martial world, she shrugged. Most just call me Tai Sui. Li Yin's heart skipped. He nearly jolted out of his seat. You gotta be kidding. This woman is Tai Sui. Li Yin hadn't expected this. His boss's boss was a woman. Yu Shu smiled lazily, eyes gleaming. Even if you're surprised, shouldn't you start by introducing yourself? Before he could answer, a sultry voice cut in from behind. His name is Li Yin. What's wrong, Tai Sui? Don't even recognize your own man? Judy strolled up like she owned the place. Curves in all the right places, eyes sparkling with danger and charm. Every gambler nearby stopped to stare. She dropped into the seat beside Li Yin, locked her arm around his, and snapped, you don't know who your boss's boss is? Red Ghost didn't tell you? Yu Shu tilted her head, smiling faintly. So you're Red Ghost's new blood? Thought you were just another rich boy looking for fun. Around Fui Tower, they call me Tai Sui. You should too. Then she turned her eyes toward Judy. Long time no see, Mrs. Deng. Judy froze, but forced a smile. Still as radiant as ever, Tai Sui. But you know how it is. Women should dress up once in a while. You're absolutely right, Mrs. Deng, Yushu replied, still smiling. Maybe you can recommend some good cosmetics next time. Judy's smile cracked, sure. I've got plans with Li Yin anyway, that will be going. Without another word, she yanked Li Yin away from the crowd. Once inside their private lounge, Judy threw her purse to the ground. That bitch, she hissed. She knew exactly what she was doing, saying Mrs. Deng over and over like that. Li Yin handed her a drink, chuckling. We haven't known each other long, but I've never seen you this pissed off before. Judy took the glass, a sour note in her voice. So what did you think of your big boss? Pretty, right? Li Yin kept a straight face. Of course she's pretty. She's my big boss, but still can't hold a candle to you, Judy. Judy didn't reply. She just stared at him, thoughts churning beneath her smile. If Tai Sui can keep Red Ghost loyal, then I can do the same with Li Yin. She turned toward the window, her voice low and smooth. You know, a lot of new blood's shown up in the walled city lately, and they're all monsters. She nodded toward the ring below. A match had just ended. One fighter lay on the mat, blood gushing from his throat, very much dead. His opponent stood nearby, short and stocky, face hidden behind a jagged subway dash mask. In his hand was a weapon, part smoking pipe, part death tool. The pipe glinted with blood and steel. Edged along the outside, forged from solid iron, it shimmered with menace. Li Yan's brows lifted. A Lan Mian So, that's a signature weapon from northern stabbing footboxer clans. Looks like a smoker's pipe, but it's made to kill. Judy's tone cooled. His name's Wu Er. The guy backing him? He Changhong. That smug bastard's been on my nerves for weeks. She glanced sideways. Tell me, Li Yin, you go up against that freak. What are your odds? Li Yin grinned. If he pissed you off, then I've got 120% chance to win. Judy laughed at that, assuming he was joking. She picked up a VHS tape from the table. Here. Watch how this lunatic fights. Li Yin reached out, gently pressed her hand down, and pulled Judy into a quiet embrace from behind. When I say 120%, I mean it. Judy met his gaze, eyes softening. Then, without warning, she leaned in and brushed a kiss across his cheek. Light as air. Li Yin froze. And just like that, she slipped out of his arms, turning with a smirk. Idiot. You think you can charm me that easy? Still too green. Just then, the system's voice pierced the moment. Gauching chronicle fragment located. Incoming data stream. Prepare to receive. Li Yin's heart skipped. He rushed to the window, eyes locked on the arena below. Down in the ring, Wu Er had just removed his mask. A youthful, almost innocent face stared up at him, eyes wide, fixed on the glass of the VIP box. Li Yin offered a slight smile, mouthing the words, "Hello." At that exact moment, both men trigger Hawkeye glimpse. The system chimed in both their minds. You've discovered a fellow walker. On the rooftop of Fui Tower, Li Yin stood in the wind, analyzing everything. Name, Zhang Mingyuan. Known skills, Hawkeye glimpse, martial arts proficiency, 69%. Everything else? Unknown. Walkers like him were called fellow travelers, agents on the same path but not necessarily allies. Killing one grants no reward. He looks young, but if he's a traveler, he's dangerous. And this city's darker than I thought. Li Yin pulled up his mission log. 2 more wins, and he'd cleared Tier 7 of the arena. That AS for the Gauchon fragments. He only had 2 so far. And awakening the Gusu bird's remnant soul? Still no clue. But nowhere in the rules did it say he had to do it alone. Technically speaking, I could team up with this so-called Wu Er. But the Yinfo event made it clear. There are only 5 fragments. The more you hold, the more you get. So who takes what? How do we split something like that? Just then, the rooftop door creaked open behind him. Zhang Mingyuan stepped forward slowly, stopping a few paces behind Li Yin, silent. Without turning around, Li Yin said flatly, I'm not one for small talk. We're here for our own reasons, and no need to dig into each other's pasts. Hand me your 2 fragments. I'll handle the Gusu bird's remnant soul. You focus on earning points and walk away clean when it's over. Sound fair? Zhang finally spoke, voice calm. I'm not the team-up type, and I don't trust people. Besides, my backer and your lady patron? They're not exactly on good terms. So here's the deal, point one fight in the ring. Winner takes it all. Loser walks away with nothing. Li Yin knew the rule. Lose in the arena, and you're out. In oh more progress. In oh more fragments. And oh way back. He didn't answer right away. Zhang stepped forward slightly, eyes sharp. So what is it, Li Yin? You in or not? Li Yin let out a faint chuckle, eyes calm. This place, Kowloon-walled city, is chaos beneath the surface. You and I could play a dozen moves behind the scenes. He glanced at Zhang Mingyuan. You've trained since childhood. I can see that. But your experience? Still too green. Fighting me in backrooms is one thing. Facing me in the ring is another. What is it? Afraid I'll turn you down? Zhang's eyes twitched. He hadn't expected to be seen through so easily. Sweat beaded at his brow. Li Yin walked right past him without pause. See you in the ring tomorrow. Only then did Zhang's shoulders relax. His heart finally slid back into place. But Li Yin, already walking away, had noticed something. That mysterious fragment wielder had never been Zhang Mingyuan. As he reached Judy's suite, the door swung open, and a blond man stepped out. Smirking, he gave Li Yin a once-over and sneered. So, you're the king, Yin? Let's see who's visiting the underworld tomorrow. With that, he wrapped his arm around a sultry woman and strutted off. Li Yin paused, just for a moment. Stepping inside, he saw Judy by the window, quiet and poised. Red Ghost sat in the corner, silent, arms folded. Judy turned toward him and asked gently, Yin, what kind of weapon do you need? I'll have Red Ghost prepare it. Li Yin didn't reply right away, but he'd already pieced it together. That blonde punk must be Zhang Mingyuan's backer. This next round would be a weapons match. Zhang's weapon was the deadly Lan Mian So 8, and Bagwazang offered many strange, hidden weapons. The real question was, what suits him best? After a brief pause, he answered, Red Ghost, give me a long sword. Nothing under 1 meter, preferably 1.3. Red Ghost's usual smirk faded. His tone turned serious. Got it. I'll get the sword. That evening, he took Li Yin to a diner downstairs at a local cha-chan tung, the kind with loud fans, greasy tiles, and silent tension. They sat across from each other, neither speaking, until Red Ghost finally said, Hey, I told you to get checked out. Did you ever go? Li Yin took the cigarette Red Ghost handed him, lit it, and exhaled slow. Come on, Red Ghost, don't nag. I know my own body. He glanced over. Red Ghost wasn't just an act. Real or not, the guy had always had his back. Red Ghost met his eyes. Tai Sui saw you fight. Said your energy's off. Unstable. Said you might be sick. His voice dropped lower, but there was weight behind it. If something's wrong, tell me that you've only been in the walled city, 2 weeks? I don't want to be the one dragging your corpse out. If it gets bad, take a break. I'll deal with Judy. Li Yin could feel it. Red Ghost's concern wasn't fake. And for the first time, a quiet thought crept into his mind. Maybe, if I make it through this, living here wouldn't be so bad. He gave a wry smile. Red Ghost, with a heart like yours, this city's gonna eat you alive. Red Ghost let out a laugh, half bitter, half proud. Tai Sui said the same thing. But seriously, if you're not up for it physically, don't get in the ring. Li Yin went quiet, then asked, eyes steady. Will Tai Sui be watching my match tomorrow? Red Ghost blinked. Maybe. Depends on her schedule. What? Li Yin didn't answer, just took a hard swig from his glass. Then said, low and serious, whatever happens, make sure she sees me finish that fight. On the walk home, Li Yin covered his nose, frowning. Why does this alley smell more and more like fish balls? Damn, that stinks. He stepped into his apartment, ready to crash, when a knock came at the door. Opening it, he saw Xiao, that familiar shy smile on her face. She held up a lunchbox. Big brother Yin, my mom said you live alone. She made some char siu for you. Thanks for looking out for me. Li Yin didn't refuse. Truth be told, whenever he came back late, Xiao's mom always left something warm for him in this blood-soaked city. That was the closest thing to kindness. Hey, Xiao. Li Yin scratched his head. I've noticed your place has been using candles lately. Your light's out? I could take a look, maybe fix it. And well, I haven't met your mom yet. Ashio suddenly lowered her head. Her smile faltered. Then she forced a quick grin. It's fine, really. No need. And just like that, she turned and left. Lian watched her go, puzzled. Something fell off. But he didn't press. Back at her building, Ashio pushed open her apartment door. A thick stench of decay hit her like a wall. Something rotten. Something wrong. Her eyes were empty as she stepped inside, as if her soul had long since left. In the corner, a faded ritual scroll swayed in the stagnant air. 6th lunar month. 24th day of the Binging year. Avoid burial. Abstain. Obey. Meanwhile, the underground arena beneath Fui Tower was packed to the brim. No seat left empty. The match of the night was about to begin. Lian stepped into the pit. In his hand, a Han sword point 1.3 meters long, 3 fingers wide. The blade shimmered faintly. Its blood groove was dark, and 8 words had been carved into its spine. From breath springs all form. Around the city coils the dragon. He shifted his stance, one hand lifting into a high guard. Cold light glinted in his eyes. Now this is a real sword. Up in the stands, Judy leaned forward, brows furrowed. Red Ghost. That sword. Where do you even get it? Can we trust it? Red Ghost didn't flinch. Come, relax. It's not some junk off the street. It's from Tai Sui's personal stash. Real blade. Real blood. And no issues. Across the arena, Tai Sui sat quietly among the crowd, eyes sharp. A Han sword, huh? Brutal and draining. With his physical state, he won't last long. But he's not an idiot. Did I misread him? Down in the pit, Zhang Mingyuan finally stepped onto the platform. He yanked off his cloak, and there it was. The Lan Mian, south 90 centimeters. 4 fingers wide at the blade plate. Iron-wrapped mouthpieces at both ends, curved like a hawk's beak. Cold, controlled, deadly. He recalled that Hawkeye glimpse scan. Lian's martial arts level? 81%. 12 points above his own. If I want to win, I'll need everything I've got. They faced each other, cupped fists in mutual respect. Jizi School. Zhang Mingyuan. Hejian School. Lian. Zhang twisted his grip on the pipe weapon. Legs bent. Right foot scraped a tight circle into the dirt. Center line drawn, breath condensed. Zhang Mingyuan exploded forward with a single step, body like a bullet, eyes glinting cold. The Lan Mian so slashed toward Lian's face, deadly precise. Lian's left hand swept up, fingers curved like a hook. His knuckles cracked hard, smashing directly onto the grip of Zhang's weapon. The impact rocked Zhang's hold. His fingers slipped just enough. The pipe weapon jolted off course. Lian didn't miss the beat. Right hand surged forward, Han sword flashing upward like lightning, aiming straight for Zhang's left arm. One hit, and the match would be over, one way or another. Desperation struck. Zhang twisted his wrist at the last second, swung the Lan Mian so in a tight arc. The curved tip whipped toward Lian's temple. Lian swerved, but not fast enough. A red line bloomed across his cheek. Shit, can't underestimate him for even a second. His left hand shifted again, fingers tightened like a hawk's beak, stabbing toward Zhang's wrist. Pressure point hit. Zhang cried out. His weapon went flying. Lian Stiptin, sword whistling through the air, a clean, merciless strike aimed at Zhang's face. Instinct took over. Zhang bent backward, spine folding into a brutal iron bridge. He kicked back, flipping away to safety, widening the distance. Lian gripped the Han sword in his right, snatched the Lan Mian so into his left. Finally, a breath point, one clean breath. Zhang Mingyuan had dodged death by inches, but a long, bloody gash now ran down his left arm. Blood dripped to the floor. Just one exchange, and he'd already lost his weapon and control of the fight. In the luxury box above, He Changhong's face had darkened. Zhang's injury meant nothing to him. But losing face in front of Judy? Unforgivable. Judy, meanwhile, smiled sweetly, all her earlier concern gone like dust in the wind. Back in the ring, Li Yin tossed the pipe weapon clean off the stage. The clang echoed like a warning bell. Then, he crouched low, blades sweeping forward. The Han sword roared through the air, a steel arc slicing toward Zhang's legs. Zhang leapt, a desperate vault to escape the cut. In midair, he twisted. Left foot dropped to crush Li Yan's sword hand, right foot snapping sideways toward Li Yan's face. Li Yan planted his right hand against the ground, twisted his waist with explosive torque, and the Han sword carved a perfect arc upward. Zhang Mingyuan's eyes widened. If he didn't move now, he'd be sliced clean in two. He twisted midair, barely landing in a rough roll. But there was no pause. The Han sword came crashing down again, merciless and fast. He flinched, too slow. Steel met flesh, a long gash open on his right arm. Blood sprayed across the mat. Yet he didn't retreat. No, he charged forward, driving straight into Li Yan's space just as the sword began to drop again. Li Yan's eyes narrowed. He forced the blade up once more, like an antlered beast raising its head to strike. But Zhang jumped. Both feet slammed down on the flat of the blade. The impact was brutal. The sword crashed to the floor, smashing into the platform like a hammer, sending cracks through the stone. And then, something flickered in Zhang's eyes. A beast, ancient, violent, snarling in the depths of his gaze. This was it. No retreat. No backup .1 strike. Life or death. Zhang Mingyuan twisted midair. Heel stomped on Li Yan's sword, using the force to spin into a brutal back kick. Li Yan leaned back, just enough to avoid the full impact, but blood still dripped from the corner of his mouth. Ding! You are facing power of the Kai Ming beast. Spend 1 Yanfu point to unlock details. Li Yan instantly selected. View. System display. Status. Rage Spirit. Zhang Mingyuan. Skill. Kai Ming Beast Inheritance. Rage Spirit Effect. Each melee attack burns the target's soul. Can be imbued into any weapon. Ranged effects equals only 30% potency. A searing pain exploded inside Li Yan's chest, as if his soul had caught fire. His grip faltered. The Han sword slipped from his hand, clattering onto the stone floor. Zhang landed, barely touching down, and spun into his next move. His ankle coiled. A thunderous kick slammed into Li Yan's shoulder. Crack! Pain surged through Li Yan's right arm. He knew immediately it was broken. The impact launched him backwards, his body crashing hard against the edge of the ring. Zhang stood tall, red light now curling around his right leg. The power of the Kai Ming beast was fully awake. Zhang Mingyuan kicked the Han sword into the air, snatched the hilt mid-spin, and drove it straight toward Li Yan. But Li Yan didn't flinch. His eyes burned cold as steel. Kai Ming beast or not, you still have to land the hit. With a sharp pivot, Li Yan's body twisted like a shadow, slipping just past the arc of the blade, ghost-like and precise. In the blink of an eye, he was already face-to-face with Zhang. His right foot stamped down to anchor. A twist of the waist, his left hand swept upward in a perfect spiral. Bagua palm, 64 secret hands, robe-lifting step. His fist crashed into Zhang Mingyuan's chest, with all the weight of inner force behind it. Zhang staggered, alarm flashing in his mind. The sword's not my style. I need a switch. He raised his leg to kick, but Li Yan's right foot snapped down, pinning Zhang's shin against the floor. Zhuojiao School's killer move, silk wrapping leg. At the same time, Li Yan's left palm soared into the air, his chi roaring to the surface, ready to strike again. Li Yan didn't waste the opening. His fist slammed into Zhang Mingyuan's chest like a cannon blast. Wham! Blood burst from Zhang's mouth in a crimson arc. In the same motion, Li Yan shifted, fist turning to claw, seizing Zhang's shoulder and slamming him to the ground. His left hand snatched the Han sword from Zhang's grasp. Without hesitation, the cold steel dropped, its tip pressing against Zhang's throat, death just half an inch away. The arena froze. It was over. Then, the crowd erupted. Thunderous roars filled the Colosseum, a storm of awe and disbelief. The fight had been short, but it was brutal, technical, unforgettable. Better than anything that came before. Li Yan yanked the blade back from Zhang's neck, the metal still humming from the kill that never came. His eyes locked onto Zhang's, sharp and cold. Voice low. Zhang Daojing. What is she to you? Zhang Mingyuan blinked, dazed, lips moving before thought could catch them. She's my sister. Lian stood still for a long beat. Then suddenly, he grabbed Zhang Mingyuan by the collar. His voice dropped raw and cold. You wrecked my right arm. It's not healing for a month. That alone could ruin everything. I should have killed you just to feel better. Without another word, he hurled Zhang off the ring. Thud! Zhang crashed onto the floor below, rage and humiliation all over his face. Staggering back up, he shouted, How the hell do you know Zhuo Jiao's silk-wrapping leg? Lian turned slightly, eyes like ice, and snapped back. Ask your sister. In the VIP box, Red Ghost finally exhaled. The tension drained from his shoulders. Judy, on the other hand, flushed, glistening with sweat, leaned in toward him. Do me a favor. Step outside and close the door behind you.
Guys, that's the end of the video. If you like this video, please leave a comment in the comment section. Also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Like the video and share it too. Thank you for watching and see you next time again.